The Little Prince. Once, when I was 6 years old, I saw a wonderful picture in a book about the jungle. It was a picture of a boa constrictor swallowing an animal. Here is a copy of the drawing. The book said, boa constrictors swallow their prey whole, without chewing, and then they are unable to move and sleep for 6 months. I thought a lot about the adventures of the jungle and made my first drawing with colored pencils. My drawing number 1 looked like this. I showed my masterpiece to the grown-ups and asked them if my drawing scared them. They answered me, "Why would a hat be scary?" My drawing was not a hat. It was a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. I drew the inside of the boa constrictor so that the grown-ups could understand. Grown-ups always need explanations. My drawing number 2 looked like this. Grown-ups advised me to give up drawing open or closed boa constrictors and to devote myself instead to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar. That is how I abandoned, at the age of 6, a magnificent career as a painter. I had been discouraged by the failure of my drawing number 1 and my drawing number 2. Grown-ups do not understand anything by themselves, and it is tiring for children to always be explaining. So I had to choose another profession and learn to pilot airplanes. I flew, so to speak, all over the world. And geography, of course, was very useful to me. I could tell, at a glance, the difference between China and Arizona. It is very useful when you are lost at night. So, in the course of my life, I had many contacts with many serious people. I lived a lot among grown-ups. I saw them very closely. This did not improve, in any way, my old opinion. When I met one who seemed a little lucid, I would try the experiment of my drawing number 1, which I had always kept with me. I wanted to know if she was truly understanding. But she always answered, "It's a hat." So I would not talk to her about boa constrictors, or jungles, or stars. I would put myself on her level. I would talk to her about bridge, golf, politics, and ties. And the grown-up would be delighted to meet such a reasonable man. So I lived alone, without a friend with whom I could really talk, until one day, about 6 years ago, I had a breakdown in the Sahara Desert. Something had broken in the engine. And since I had neither a mechanic nor a passenger with me, I prepared to undertake the difficult repair alone. It was, for me, a matter of life or death. I only had enough water for 8 days. So, on the first night, I fell asleep on the sand, thousands of miles from any inhabited land. I was more isolated than a castaway on a raft, lost in the middle of the sea. Imagine then my surprise when, upon waking up the next day, a strange little voice woke me up. It said, "Please, draw me a sheep. Draw me a sheep." I stood up, as if struck by lightning. I rubbed my eyes. I looked carefully. And I saw a tiny person, entirely extraordinary, who was looking at me with gravity. Here is the best portrait that, later, I could make of him. My drawing is definitely not as good as the real thing. It's not my fault. When I was 6, I was told to stop drawing and start studying other things, so I only learned to draw snakes. I was looking at this little person with big, round eyes, feeling very surprised. Remember, I was thousands of miles from any people. But this little boy didn't seem lost or tired or hungry or thirsty or scared. He didn't look like a lost child in the desert at all. When I could finally speak, I asked him, "But, what are you doing here?" And he repeated to me, gently, as if it was a very serious thing, "Please, draw me a sheep." When something is very mysterious, you don't dare disobey. Even though it seemed crazy to me to be thousands of miles from any people and in danger of dying, I took a piece of paper and a pen from my pocket. But then I remembered that I had studied geography, history, math, and grammar, and I told the boy, a little angrily, that I couldn't draw. He answered me, "It doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." Since I had never drawn a sheep, I redrew one of the only two drawings I knew how to do. The one of the snake. And I was amazed to hear the boy reply, "No. No. I don't want an elephant in a snake. The snake is dangerous and the elephant takes up too much space. Everything is small where I live. I need a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So I drew. He looked at it carefully and said, "No. That one is very sick. Draw another one." I drew again. My friend smiled kindly, "You see, that's not a sheep. It's a goat. Look at the horns." I drew one more time. But it was rejected like the others, "That one is too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time." So, losing my patience, because I was in a hurry to fix the engine, I scribbled the drawing next to it. And I took a chance. This is the box. The sheep is inside. But I was surprised to see my little judge's face light up. "That's exactly what I wanted. Will you need a lot of grass for this sheep?" "Why?" "Because it's very small where I live." "Anything will do. I gave you a tiny little sheep." He tilted his head over the drawing. "It's not that small. Look. It's asleep." And that's how I met the little prince.